Don't forget to communicate. This is the topic of today's video. It's 9:30 p.m. over here, and I nearly didn't upload a video today because I just had such a busy week, more busy than lately, and it was fun, but I also today had a hard time taking the calm and the time to tune in to record this video. And so I'm about to go out for a walk, and I was like, no, you know what? It doesn't matter that it's not daylight anymore. It doesn't matter that it's not, good lighting or whatever. I'm just going to come on and talk to you because that's what I do every day. So here we are. And as I want to talk to you about communication, it's a very fitting topic to just commit to communicate, right? Let's take a tiny pause here and just say hi, everybody, by the way. And if you're new here, I'm Vanessa, welcome. Communication, I feel like was always for me subconsciously a difficult topic because I grew up in a household where communicating my feelings wasn't really validated. It was often dismissed because, the way I grew up, emotional intelligence wasn't really something my parents knew well or knew how to teach or knew how to express themselves or embody themselves. And so for me, I always thought like, okay, at some point I felt like there's no need to communicate my emotions because it's not acknowledged or appreciated anyway. And so that's why I often, just spent time processing my emotions by myself. But it also made me shut down a little bit with others and not really express my emotions fully about also difficult situations. Like we can all, or many of us have the capacity to share our emotions about positive and lighthearted things. But for some of us, it's harder to share our emotions when things go wrong, when there's conflict, when we feel unwell or in discomfort in a situation or experience. And so for me at home, when there was conflict, that would always be loud. And I would always feel like there was no possibility for me to get it right. And therefore, as an adult, I started fearing getting into conflict with people, with friends, with colleagues, with bosses, with anybody really. And that was nothing active that I knew that I had an issue with. It was just so ingrained in me. Don't poke the bear or don't ruffle feathers because, it's going to be ugly or difficult and painful. And at some point, though, you are getting confronted with conflict. So I turned to be a people pleaser for many times, for many years, I mean. And that wasn't good for anybody because if you don't have an opinion and don't share how you feel and what bugs you, what your boundaries are, then people won't get to know you and people may walk all over you without knowing it, right? Like I'm sure I'm positive that most people don't want to hurt you actively, and so if they don't know that they hurt you with their actions, and you don't tell them, how will they know? And I feel like a lot of people have this issue in relationships. We think we get taught from movies that our partner, our parent, our friend should know exactly what we want. They should read it off our face or whatever. They should read our mind. But let's be honest, it's very unrealistic. And I also appreciate when people tell me actually, what they prefer, then I don't have to do the guesswork. And this is also how you get to know each other on a much deeper level, which is beautiful. So let this be a reminder that not every conflict and not every communication of what you need, what your boundaries are and how you feel has to be difficult. I only learned in recent years that conflict can be calm and respectful and loving. You can have a conflict that is not about, screaming at each other or shouting at each other or being super angry and disrespectful. And it's also not about, like, this is not normal, but it's normalized in many, many households, especially when we grow up like that, right? So I feel that in recent years, the more I surrounded myself with people that are really loving and respectful, they want to do good by you, right? And so I learned slowly that when something was wrong, I could just open up and say, hey, this and this, sort of, maybe we have a misunderstanding, or when I felt like I hurt somebody or disappointed somebody, I could start saying, hey, listen, can we sit down? I just want to ask you, is there something that I need to know? Are we okay in our friendship, relationship, whatever? And then there was room to listen, and that is an important part of communication, listening and giving the other person the space. Because often when we come from a reactive place, when we come from painful experiences, we may lean towards defending ourselves, no matter what the other person says. We may feel like we're being attacked, and we may not even be aware of us feeling that way. But there may just be this natural defense mechanism that you have to feel like, ooh, I'm going to be attacked, or somebody's going to say something against me, and that may bring up immediate anger or frustration or fear. Like, everybody reacts differently, but that's exactly the point. We don't want to react, we want to respond. And sometimes, even as adults, we actually behave like children. Children often don't, like in early years, don't have the skills to think of the perspective of the other person, right? Like, put themselves in their shoes. So, and I see a lot of adults still behaving like this when, like, something goes wrong, and then they distance themselves or get passive aggressive, or, just people please and say, oh no, it's all good, when you actually notice that underneath things are not so okay. But then you just know that they haven't learned to communicate their needs or their emotions. Even if you open the door for that, sometimes you'll need to ask them and say, hey, is there something you want to tell me? If you're capable to hold space for that, and let them learn that it's safe to be in conflict, that it's safe to tell how you feel, and that something is not okay. Yeah. Because often these people don't know that that what they feel and what they think is valid. So you, as a good friend, partner, or colleague, or whatever you are to that person, even as a stranger, you can be, like, if that feels good to you, you can hold space for them to learn that it's safe. And let's turn it around. If you are the person who never feels safe in conflict, this is a reminder for you that not all conflict is hard, and not all conflict is, painful or disrespectful. Sometimes it will take some courage to lean into conflict. It's actually healthy for each other to know, hey, this really hurt me. Oh, and that hurt me. Oh, I didn't mean to hurt you. Oh, me neither. Okay, let's breathe here. What do you need? Oh, I need this and this. What do you need? Oh, I need this and this. Because you are not, sorry, I have the doggy here and she wants to be pet all the time. Because often we see each other in defending themselves, two instances defending themselves, and sort of working against each other, like being in attack and trying to win. But conflict is not about winning. Conflict is actually essentially about, being together in the conflict and finding a solution for the conflict, right? Like, you're in this together. And I just really want to make this a point because we forget it. And, when we act from this place from childhood where we are not actually acting from our mature adult self, but when we got wounded, and had difficult experiences with communication, not feeling heard, seen, feeling dismissed when we mentioned our emotions, or hearing like stop crying when we just had to sort of process emotionally. Also children have tantrums and get angry, and if they don't learn how to process their anger, either they will suppress it and it will come out later on, no matter how, or they will get super rebel and only get aggressive because they don't want to let themselves be told anything. So it's always like the people pleaser or the rebel that we turn into. And you can also have both inside of you, no matter, depending on different situations, right, and different people. But for me, for example, I've never gotten angry at anybody, or told them like how I felt in a negative sense, like when I felt something really bad. And I had a session with my teacher around this a while ago when I was visiting my mom, and I felt really, we had a discussion and I got so triggered, I got so angry. And then I just called my teacher the next day and just wanted to have a session with her because I was a bit nervous about getting so angry. And when we worked through that, she said to me, well, your mom taught you to never get angry at other people, like that this is shameful, because whenever I felt misunderstood and unheard, maybe you know that from yourself, at some point you just feel like you need to shout, at least me as a 14-year-old, you need to shout because you feel like there's no other way that she hears me or that they hear me, and that also didn't help, by the way, but it feels sometimes like my mother is the only person I could get mad at, like really mad at, in a healthy way, no worries, but I noticed that in me. And that's when my teacher said, well, that's sort of what she unconsciously taught you, that it's shameful to get mad at people, and that's why you don't do it with anybody else. And that was very interesting, right? So I just want to share with you, I really got to integrate that part and realize it's okay to get mad when it's justified. And you can still get mad in a respectful manner, right? You don't need to lash out or let your feelings come out at other people in an unhealthy or in a disrespectful way. You can go home, process your emotions, use breath work, or punch in the air and or punch into a pillow, or scream into a pillow, or scream into nature. It's all good. Same with other emotions like frustration, sadness. Feel it through. Just don't harm yourself and don't harm anybody else. Yeah, that's really important, whether physically nor emotionally or mentally. This is really something we need to take self-responsibility around. And once you got to process some of those emotions, communicate, and communicate at all times. You can communicate before and say, hey, look, wow, this is really hitting me hard, or I'm getting really triggered, or I'm getting really sad or angry or whatever. I need maybe a few hours. Let me get back to you. That's what mature adults do, because mature adults don't fear conflict. And I'm not saying that to judge. I'm not saying that to intimidate or whatever. I'm saying this from my own experience, that when we don't communicate, we are making the situation not better. And I realized, since I've been communicating instead of avoiding, since I've been communicating instead of judging the other nor myself, since I've been just daring to speak things out. Yes, sometimes people don't want to hear it. Sometimes it might trigger the other person. And sometimes you will meet somebody who will be able to hold space for that discussion, for that conflict, and say, hey, we are both in this and not against each other, but together in order to resolve together the conflict. So let's sit ourselves down. What do I need? What do you need? How can we come together? Okay? Because if you open up and you want to make it work, I mean, that's the whole goal of relationships, right? Like, if you like your friend, you want to make it work. If you like your partner, you want to make it work. If you're working in a company that you like, you want to make it work with the colleagues or the boss or your employees or whatever, business partners. Yeah, even on the street. And all we need for that is respect, kindness, and giving the other person the benefit of a doubt. Yeah, and ourselves as well. And a little bit of courage, because I know it's sometimes hard to tell how you feel, but I just want to reinforce that often we think it's worse than it actually is to communicate your emotions. And if somebody cannot, receive, yeah, if somebody cannot receive you in sharing openly, then maybe that's not, not then maybe that person also experienced growing up that, they didn't learn how to deal with conflict in some way. So I just want us to know that communicating is something that the whole world needs to get better at. And I'm sharing this video today to communicate with you that I've had a stressful week, but I still wanted to show up for you today and share this video with you because I feel like I'm getting so much better at communicating. And it's so important to me to be a good example, especially doing the work I do. So when you cannot make it in time, when you are too tired, when you will not make the deadline and you already know it, instead of waiting till last minute or finding excuses, just tell people and be kind and honest. And if they cannot hold space for you, or if they cannot receive that and understand that, although you care enough to be kind and honest and respectful with them to not take away their time and energy, that's their end of the task that they have to take care of, right? We all need to get better at communicating and taking self-responsibility. That's really what I believe. And the more we will see that this is a dance between two people or several people, the more we will find also more compassion for each other and more love, even if things go wrong. I don't take it personally at all anymore when people cancel on me, even when people don't communicate well, because I just feel like, all right, they don't see it or they are overwhelmed. And so let me not make it worse for them. I see you, and that's okay. I don't need to take it personally. That's another thing. Just don't take all the stuff in the world, how people communicate, when people communicate, all these kind of things. Don't take it so personally. The best you can do is see what works for you, how you want to be treated, and just share that through your actions in the world. And that will already make a big change. And if you have an issue, communicate it. Be kind, be respectful, be honest. Yeah? All we got to do. And do that as often as possible. Alrighty, so this is what I wanted to communicate with you today. And let's just all take a deep breath because it's been a long week. For you too, let me know how you feel end of week. Share it in the comments below. Let's take a deep breath in. You can close your eyes if you're not driving or acting with heavy machinery. So deep breath in through your nose, begin into your belly. Hold at the top for a moment and sigh it out through your mouth. One more time, deep breath in through your nose, deep into the belly. Sigh it out. And last time, come on, because it's Friday. And release. Whew. That's it. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. And if you're watching this not on a Friday and not in the evening, I hope you still got a little bit out of this video. Share with me below how you feel about this topic, what's hard for you in terms of communication, or what you improved, what's your journey with it. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video, and if you're new here, subscribe. Ciao.